Welcome everybody. So glad to see lots of folks here. This is our budget hearing meeting. It's a special meeting, and we'll start with roll call.
Trustee Prosser? Here. Dahl?
Yes.
Sewell? Here. Sprout?
Yes.
Supervisor Thomas?
Here. Okay, so for the first item on the agenda is the road district public hearing for the road district budget. And we'll have public comments. If you'd like to comment on the road budget, you can step to the podium and you have up to 5 minutes. Seeing no comments, that's a good thing, Kathy. Congratulations. If you would like to, explain anything in your budget.
Basically, the budget has gone down significantly, about $265,000 from last year. With my permanent road right now, it's kind of hard to set a budget because there's one project I don't know if it's going to take place or not. They're starting to do water lines through Pat Drive area, and depending on when they get that done, he's told me it might be September or October. It might be too late to pave. It just depends on all that. So that might be in my Gatsby bill for next year, and that would bring my budget down even further. But if there are any questions about anything that I have on here? The only thing in the general fund that I really had to raise was maintenance of vehicles and equipment. I know that, like, we just had a piece of equipment fixed today and it's $7,000. I mean, it's just unbelievable what it costs to fix anything anymore, and we don't have the machinery to run, and all that's hundreds of thousands of dollars too. So that had to go up in my general fund. Beyond that, I think everything else is pretty much the same, and except that I took some of the money out that we had in equipment fund. We don't really use, we use a small amount in the equipment fund. That's for smaller things that we purchase for the general fund. Otherwise, the larger items are out of equipment. So is there any questions on anything?
Nope. Thank you. I appreciate you lowering and finding the best ways to, fiscally responsible ways. Thank you. Okay. If nothing else, we'll move on to the township public hearing. This is for the township budget, and we'll accept public comments on that budget. And Jim, did you put that budget out there for folks to see?
No.
Okay.
It was available for inspection, but we don't put
Right.
it out there until.
Okay, gotcha. I gotcha. So anyway, it was available, and then during this meeting, and then we won't be doing any votes during this meeting. We'll be discussing it, any of the changes and stuff, and then next meeting, it will be on the agenda, and that's when we will vote. Okay? And then 7 o'clock meeting. Next meeting, next 7 o'clock
It
meeting.
is the next meeting.
Yes. So public comments regarding the township budget. Sure.
I'm Mark Achenbach, I live in Maryville. I'm glad the board is finally going to cut the assessor's budget. It's way too high. The comparables that you went out and dug up, and I personally did it myself too. There's no reason the residents and taxpayers of Collinsville Township should be paying so much for the assessments. I know Pete seems to think that he's the only guy in the township that knows how to do assessments. There's lots of other townships in this county that are able to do it for less. And I think it's time we get in the 21st century, and there are ways to do things. That's what it's about moving forward. We find ways to do things cheaper, better, faster. And in terms of the results, I know he always argues about the results. The equalization factor, that's based, he always says about the people are chasing the market. That's what the equalization factor is. It's a correction for the actual market sales prices of actual houses. So he's not doing any better. He's probably not doing any worse. He's doing about the same as everybody else, except for some of the small places that maybe aren't as comparable to us. And there's no reason why we should be spending, in some cases, twice the amount of money that other places are spending. So I hope this board votes to approve and cut the budget. And if Pete says he's gonna sue, I say let him stand up and sue and go to court. And if he wins, he wins. If he loses, he loses. That'll put an end to it. So let's get it done, cut the budget. Let's give the taxpayers some break. There's no reason to pay twice as much what it costs to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Keely Morgan. I've lived here since 1980. From what I understand, the Edwardsville Township supervisor makes $25,000 per year. Mr. Cox makes more than double that at $51,000. If we were gonna compare budgets and services to Edwardsville, shouldn't we be comparing the salaries of the elected officials as well? That's it.
Thank you.
I'm George Lee, and the last meeting I come to, Pete explained everything why he was qualified and what he was doing. And a lot of these other townships are a little short. You know, Mr. Cox, there's a union contract out there that you are obligated to fulfill. 3 years ago, you fought that contract and it cost you $25,000.
Him or us? Us. Cost
Us,
Excuse
the
me.
public people.
This is public
Yes.
comment.
Outside the legal representation that you ended up losing, point to the board, I'm gonna tell you, think it over. I don't know why you people are after Pete, but there's a reason behind this, and will eventually come out. I mean, we've had I lived here all my life, we've never had any problems with Pete. Or the township. Until recently.
My name is Donna Eversman. I've lived in Collinsville since I was 2 years old. I've been to the tax assessor's office several times, got the help that I needed. I don't know why we've never had all this turmoil until you came into office. And it's like you just want to change everything and make everything about you. It's not about you, it's about the people. And you know, so where's your budget? How many people do you employ? How much do you pay those people? Let's hear some of that. You wanna cut everything for the tax assessor, what about you? Where's your budget? What are you supposed to do? What is your job title? I mean, fair is fair.
Thank you.
My name is Jeffrey Menendez, and I live in Maryville. Just am kind of curious on why this is such a big deal, and everybody seems to be taking it personally. The supervisor's cut his salary the last 2 terms. Did you guys know that?
We can't.
There's no one pointing fingers at anyone here. We're talking about taxpayers' money all the way around when it comes to the supervisor. When it comes to the assessor, we're talking about all offices equally. This is not a target towards anyone specifically. I think the only people that are in mind when it comes to thinking about this when you're casting your vote is the taxpayers, because they're the ones that have elected these people into office, including Pete. But we're all expected to do more with less and be frugal. There's no reason to be
Why is he
overspending.
making double
Hey.
everybody else?
This is a warning, Ms. Everson, seriously, warning, the last warning.
Thank you.
Apologize for the interruption, but it seems like some people have a very pointing finger here at others, and I think it's pretty obvious that the board is just gonna be voting for the taxpayers' best benefit. That's all I have.
Anyone else?
All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Ashley Stewart, former trustee and concerned citizen. I want to express my deep disappointment that there is still a coordinated and targeted effort to undermine the assessor's office and slash the budget. These continued attacks are not only short-sighted but dangerous. The proposed cuts will directly impact core services, staffing, and the livelihoods of both township employees and the residents they serve. The voters just recently spoke. Pete Paletti was reelected because the residents trust his qualifications, his decades of experience, and his leadership. They value the consistent high-quality service that they have received for the past 40 years. Attempting to gut his office's resources after that vote is disrespectful to the will of the people. As stated in the last board meeting, it's telling that the supervisor is not going after the highway commissioner's budget with the same level of aggression. Why is the assessor's office being singled out? I question the competence of this decision and the legal counsel advising such a reckless course of action. The taxpayers will be ones footing the bill for whatever appears to be yet another unnecessary legal battle. The assessor had to sue for this exact issue years ago. I urge the board to learn from precedent because history has already shown us the board majority's agenda will not win in court. I reviewed the proposed budget and the supervisor is asking the assessor to lower his budget by $150,000, which happens to be the combined salary and benefits of the 2 longest serving employees in that office. If the intention is to pressure them into retirement, that's not just unethical, it's potentially illegal. Our country used to value the wisdom, institutional knowledge, and loyalty that come from long-term public service. That value seems to be lost in this leadership. The supervisor stated in his report that he ensures that no services are cut by, but only expanded. A decrease of $150,000 would eliminate the top 2 positions or the bottom 3. Eliminating staff would have a direct impact on the number of properties that are assessed, the number of exemptions that are applied, and the overall quality of service. The current union contract includes 7 employees for the Collinsville Township Assessor's Office. Please provide evidence on how this would not become a union lawsuit. I received a copy of the board packet prior to the meeting. It's not leaked when it's public documents. And in the supervisor's own report, he explains that he has already consulted with other attorneys and is preparing for a lawsuit. In it, he again is comparing the Collinsville Assessor's Office with Edwardsville. He never discusses the difference in quantity of work between the 2 offices, number of changes, number of exemptions, etc. Madison County has 24 staff members in the assessor's office, not 6, as stated in the supervisor's report. The fact that all of this has been explained numerous times, and yet these same talking points continue to be used, it's either a lack of understanding or deliberately deceiving the public, and either one is concerning. Also, the attorney you plan to work with has also worked with Bi-State. That's interesting. The same Bi-State that the supervisor is a current board member for. Sounds like a conflict of interest. So let me get this right. The current board majority is focusing all of this time and energy to save taxpayer money and to decrease the assessor's budget by $150,000, knowing that the legal costs could cut into those savings. And for the public's knowledge, that decrease comes out to an average reduction of about $8 to $10 on your tax bill on average, so essentially the rate of inflation. And if the supervisor is so eager to compare budgets with other townships, then let's be consistent. Why not also compare with other township spending on general assistance and senior centers? I see that the salary was added back into the general assistant budget to make it appear that there is more funding for that department. Regarding other township senior centers, many operate with far fewer staff. Some run almost entirely on volunteers. Not that I'm advocating for staff cuts, but this is glaringly obvious that this data is being cherry-picked to support a predetermined agenda. Speaking of general assistance, some of the current members have made some incredibly concerning comments online about who they believe should be receiving assistance and demonstrated their lack of understanding on this topic. There is too much to unpack in this public comment, so it will be addressed at a later time. But I am glad to see the forward movement in the community garden, which was suggested several times by the previous board. The residents are paying attention, they're asking questions, and now they're speaking up. Considering they're the ones who pay your salary, I suggest you start listening. Reevaluate your goals this term and refocus on serving the people, not personal agendas. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to the discussion. And since this is the budget that I'm putting forward, I'll go on and explain where I've come up with the numbers, and I'll try to also answer a lot of the comments that have been spoken about. So, first of all, I forgot to put these out there, so let me just do this real quick. These are some of the comparables from FOIA requests from other townships. There you go. Just gonna kind of spread them around, you guys can kind of share.
What's he handing out? I think the same other townships.
Back here. Does anybody want one? Because we got time, we can't start the next meeting at 7 o'clock. Plenty of time. Okay, so, starting off, like the roads department, there is also an overall reduction in my budget for the employees in the office and at the senior center, and the employees, the office. No reduction in employees at all. But there is a reduction in the dollar amount for this, for my budget, and again, for Kathy's. And so everybody's on the same board. This is not targeted whatsoever. When I did this, I kept in mind what Trustee Ball said last meeting, in which I 100% agree. We want to have a balanced budget. When we started the last board, it was, a lot of people didn't know about the law, but you can only hold 2.5 times reserve in your accounts. In some accounts that we actually even still have, we have sometimes 8 years of reserve that's been built up. So the only way to, how should you say, remedy that is to just not levy anything. It was a long time ago, I had even pushed for sending checks back to the taxpayers. That caught a lot of heat, and it was gonna cost some money, and it was gonna, so we didn't do that. We decided as a board, 2 boards ago, the remedy was you levy 0 and you wouldn't be fined, and so that's what we've done. And so take away that, so you say, well, how can you spend more than you bring in? Well, that is what we did, and so I will give it to Mr. Allen and the other supervisor that was in, that they did build up some big surpluses, and so we used those surpluses to make some great things happen in our township. And then was able to lower the levy. We also lowered the budget. The last board lowered the budget by over 25%. And so this budget here, I'll go through it. Do you guys have a copy of it I can walk through? Let's see, so.
They got it emailed to
They got it emailed to
Yeah,
you.
my email's not in that particular file.
So I'll try to make it so you can understand. But our revenues, our overall revenues, and so the public can understand, revenues come from tax dollars. They also come from interest, replacement taxes. It has miscellaneous income, and then it also has some grant income. So our revenues are expected to be $1,391,635. Okay. Then it has our total funds available is $2,534,762. If we pass this budget tonight, we will end with a ending balance. We started with. We'll end it. I don't want to jump and make it too confusing. So without the paperwork in front of you, I'm trying to make it as least confusing as possible. Point is that this is going, I'll show you that this is going to be a balanced budget. Okay, personnel, we'll start with personnel. Office salaries, this is my office. From last year, it's down $35,000, and it is correct that we are moving one of the salaries, and you'll see an increase in that budget line item. Salaries for elected officials go down $30,000 because we are not in control of the salaries. The board passes that, because I think that was brought up. The board passes that, and our roads commissioner agreed to take 20% of her salary out of her budget. So the elected official salaries actually comes out of my budget. That's the elected official salaries for Kathy, Pete, myself, Jim, and the entire board. It comes out of my budget. Health insurance, go ahead. anytime you have any questions, oh yeah, if you have any questions, the board, ask me as we move on. Health insurance, I had to add $6,000 to that budget because of increased cost. How I came up with these numbers, I looked at what we spent last year, and then I said, okay, we're gonna have to add some here, we can deduct some here. That's how I came up with these numbers. Okay, so overall in administration, it's down 56,000. Contractual services, there's a whole bunch of items in here. Looking at everything, I had to add 35,000. Commodities stayed the same. Capital outlay, that is for the building up there. I deducted we spent 83,000 last year, but that was on solar. We're not doing solar, and by the way, we have our first bills of $0 up there and here, which is a great win. And it's good for the environment as well. So anyway, we don't have that. I was able to deduct 60,000 from that line item. And other expenditures, it has all kinds of things. It has programs for youth that we added to the budget. Programs for seniors, none of those have been changed whatsoever. We're giving to HHH program. We give to a lot of youth programs. Our programs for seniors, just so everybody knows, that $25,000 is what funds everything that goes on here at the senior center, okay? And that's including, other than the office, the salaries up here, people wonder, well, how much money is being spent down here? That $25,000 covers everything all year long. So that remains the same. And we have some other items, but under that one, there was the senior center capital outlay, basically, and that was for the solar, which we've already done. So in that line item, I was able to deduct $235,000 in that. Moving on to the next page, it is the assessor's portion. So it has been argued that it is not this board's duty to have a say-so in the assessors. He was elected, that's his duty. But the way the township code is written, and I think you all have a memo out there, I did go seek some legal advice from others and seeing what else has been going on in the state. And it is absolutely, well, let me ask our attorney who's sitting here, because it's better coming from him and he'll do it more eloquently than I will. Is it the duty of the board, what powers do we have as far as the setting the budget?
So the Board of Trustees is who actually sets the budget. The assessor puts forward his request, and it's the job of the board to figure out where they want to set that, whether it's just accepting the amount, whether it's working to find some different amount, whether it's setting their own amount. The actual statute says the multi-township or township board of trustees shall determine the amount required and permitted by law to finance the operations of the office of the multi-township or township assessor. So it ultimately, Pete puts forth the budget, but it's the Board of Trustees' job to accept, reject, change it, and pass it.
All right, thank you. And so all these folks, we were all elected as well. And so the paperwork that you have in front of you, it shows, it's been mentioned before, I'm not picking on the township assessor. What I want is, we were elected by our taxpayers and our citizens to get the best. And if Edwardsville has 16,417 parcels, and their last budget was $184,000, and we have 16,745 parcels, so just a couple hundred difference, and our last budget was $508,000. Anybody out there can see, well, if Edwardsville can do it, why can't we? So it is not our duty, as Bill stated, we can't tell Pete or the assessor's office how to do their job. We're not saying you need to get rid of any employees. We're not saying any of that. This board's duty is to pass a budget that we think gives him sufficient funds to perform his work. That's what our job is. We have nothing to do if he wants to overly spend on stamps, or if he wants to, we can't say really anything on that. We can only give him the amount of money, and then he can decide how he wants to perform his job, because he was elected to be the assessor. So I left all the numbers alone, because it is not our duty to say how many employees he has, what he wants to pay for health insurance or anything. On the bottom, we just put $383,971. That is not, as suggested in the comments, two salaries added up. I honestly do not know the salaries in that office. How I got that number is the exact number that Mr. Ball was on the old board, Brad was on the old board, passed. The board passed that amount unanimously in the levy. And the person that was speaking passed that amount in the levy. So if we're for a balanced budget, that's why I came up with that number. And that is the same number, or I'm sorry, that number is still more money than every single township that I asked. And so I thought, in my opinion, that is more than efficient amount of funds to do the work. And that's how I came up with that number, was $383,971. From last year's budget, that's a deduction of $124,953. Okay, so
From last year.
from last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, from last year, that is less of $124,953. Moving forward, our audit fund, I had to add $500. Each year it ticks up just a little bit more. Our insurance has been tough. As everybody knows, your car insurance, your house insurance, everything is going up. This is for our building, this is for if somebody slips and falls, liability insurance. I had to add $15,000 from last year, so that's up to $75,000 to cover our costs there. So altogether on that page, I had to add $15,500. Moving forward, the IMRF fund, we are good there. The same budget. We spent $6,100. We budgeted $10,000. I'm still budgeting $10,000. Social Security, we are good there, the same amount budgeted, and what we spent last year was dead on. So all that page is good. Moving forward to general assistance. I did move that salary into general assistance. And the main reason that I did that is because we have so much money in that account, we're unable to levy. Remember, you can't levy if you're not spending that much, okay? And so this will give us the ability to make those changes that we spoke about at our special meeting just a couple of weeks ago. I want to find ways to actually help, instead of rhetoric that doesn't actually help anybody and just saying it. I want to find ways to get to the bottom of how to help somebody, you know? So, and that will lie with that employee, and that I added $53,000 to that general assistance. After you do all, and I also added $10,000 in home relief as well, to make sure that we would have enough money if we have more folks that come in and that are qualified. You gotta be qualified. Not everybody gets it if you just think that you need it or want it. So we get to the last page. In total, our general town budget is $440,953 less than last year. That is, I'll get to it. Audit fund is plus 500. The insurance fund is plus 15,000. The IMRF is the same. Social Security is the same. General assistance is plus 53,500. Altogether, it will be a $371,953 less than last year. To break it out,
Only 124 something comes out of Pete's.
that's right. And to break it out, I'm taking.
How much of that came out of everything
I'm
else?
taking $247,000 out of mine, and I'm asking Pete, I'm asking this board to pass $124,953 less from last year's, from the assessors.
So this 1467471, that's right.
Yes, 146, yeah. And so the total is 1467471 in that. I know there was a lot, I know you got a lot of questions.
Not a lot of questions,
Oh,
not for this
go ahead.
meeting. I have one comment, though, I'd like to, let's, put a little bit of highlight on, is that 230,000 of that is from the capital outlay, which
Yes.
was not money we really budgeted anyway, because it's grant money. So,
Right, yeah.
I know you're saying you took it out of your budget and all, but in reality, it's a wash.
Yeah, it's all
We
in.
budgeted the expenditure.
True.
So yeah, we don't have to do that, like I explained, we've already done the solar
No, I know.
and stuff, yeah, so, do you guys have any questions? Or any concerns, because it's tough, I would say, not just for me, but I do want buy-in from the entire board. I want buy-in from the community, because we were elected. It was mentioned that we need to start listening to the community. That's what I'm doing. I was elected because we all have taxes I got mine, tax bill today, because I don't escrow, and it just goes up every single year. And I will say this, and me and Margo, we spent, 4 hours going through just how it works. If every municipality what they do is they see the multiplier and they add that to their tax levy. So if they see that the multiplier is gonna be 6 or 8% or 10%, they say, well, let's get as much as we can. And they get as much as they can. And then your tax rate at the bottom, out of all of them, will go up with the same amount that the multiplier goes up. So they say, oh, the tax rate stayed the same. Meanwhile, all of y'all's taxes continue to go up. I bought a house for a few years ago that I used to pay $700 on, and now it's $2,700. I rent it out. Who do you think pays that? The landlord's just not gonna eat it, the renters do. It all trickles down. And we're trying to make sure we don't work at the school board. We're not on the city council, we're on this board. And so if the argument is, well, it's only 150,000, you can make that argument. It's only 150,000, because that was brought up in the comment, that if you did it, it's only $8. Okay, I can make that argument for every single pet project that I could come up with. Well, it's only this. And if every municipality continues to do that, you're not gonna be able to make it, and especially seniors, when they're on the fixed income. They bought the house, they could afford it, but their taxes keep going up. So it's the principle of we, and I'm hoping that this passes, but I'm not asking for anything unreasonable here. This gives more money than every single township, still 2 times more than Edwardsville. I'm not telling the assessor how to do his job, but he has to make it work, just like you guys have to make it work with your own budgets. You have so much money coming in, you can't go to Hawaii maybe. You gotta wait. That's just how it is. And we're here for you, trust me. So, any other comments or concerns,
So can you
questions?
explain your position on the GA administration cost? Why are you moving it back into the GA account? Because 4 years ago, that was like one of your biggest platforms.
Yes, and that's what I just explained. I'll explain it again.
Yeah.
So we can't
Elaborate
levy.
on it a little bit.
Yeah, we cannot levy the amount because we only spent, and again, I have her report today. We denied 3 requests last month, okay? We can only spend, so we spent $18,000 last year in GA, I think if my numbers are right. We have almost $100,000 in the account. So that hand ties me where we can't levy anything for many years, and so what if you weren't here when our swearing in and stuff, but one of my speeches was, I wanna find ways to actually help more people, all right? That means if somebody comes in with a water bill, instead of just cutting them a check, well, how do we know that they don't have a leaking pipe? You know, let's get some volunteers, a committee together here at the senior center, and we got some great carpenters and things like that. Let's send them over, see if they have a leaking pipe. Possibly that might even have a fee involved. I want to have enough money in there that I can actually do some things. And so I added $10,000 to the home relief in there. So, and that is what other townships are doing. Now, I can tell you this, and you know me well enough on this, I'm not gonna spend $10,000 on a door. That's what happened last time for the office. Remember that? I think you were at that meeting. When that came out of the general assistance budget. I don't think that's right. I think the general assistance in general, okay, it should only be to actually help people. The salary is one of those items that by law can be in that
No,
budget.
I understand,
Yeah.
I just was
And that's why I'm doing
trying
it.
to just understand your pivot
Yeah,
from
yeah.
4 years ago,
Yep.
because it was a big deal 4 years ago.
Yeah, and in general, it is still the same. But that didn't seem to, I took a lot of heat, and I still take a lot of heat. Well, we don't spend as much, and I tried to explain to everybody because the salary is not in there. But that didn't work. So now I say, okay, and maybe I was wrong. We'll do it the other way then. So you should say thank you, you know, so.
The salaries is what you reviewed in other townships, other
Right.
salaries within the general assistant fund.
Yes, the other salaries are in that fund,
Okay.
right, and so.
Could you answer it?
If I answer one, then I gotta answer a bunch, so I'm gonna say no, you can ask it when you come up, and I'll try to answer it for the next meeting, fair enough?
General assistant.
I didn't know
how it really worked.
In the next meeting, it's broad. When my mouse is dry. Yeah. Any other questions, concerns? All right, motion to adjourn this budget hearing?
Motion adjourned, budget.
Okay,
I second that motion.
all right, all in favor? All right, meeting adjourned, and we'll start our next meeting at 7 o'clock. Oh, yeah.
Like that.
Not that I ever counted.
Neither one of us were.
The only thing I have that money put into the First Community Credit Union savings account. But I get their taxes to pay a small credit card.
You don't know what I'm
That's where that money goes.
Okay.
And I put a 450 limit on it in case somebody stole it or